Hey everyone, this is Sheea from Maui with your daily. Um, Today's going to actually be like more of a Tantra relationship share. So that's the field I'm in. I'm a Dakini, which is a Tantra expert, and I'm actually going to be bringing on soon probably a series called The Making of a Daka. So as a female, I'm a Dakini. Male version is called a Daka, and I'm training someone right now. His name is Zakar, and we're going to talk about it and in his process of being trained and groomed for that. And it's really a beautiful thing to witness. So I'm kind of the high priestess version, and I'm training him to be a high priest version, which is a little bit more, has a different energy than some of the other forms of Tantra teachers out there. But today's lesson is actually, I'm going to invite you to ask your partner to set you up for success. So this is kind of like, get used to this phrase, set me up for success, where, say, one example could be, many of you are single who are watching, and so a good thing to do is if you're meeting someone new and you're in that new relationship energy, and maybe you're gonna take it to the next level romantically, move forward, it's really good to have a discussion and say, please set me up for success. When we have our first encounter sexually, for instance, everyone's rigged differently and we can't read each other's minds. As much as I do that well, it's still, um, you know, most people, we just don't know. And sometimes people don't pick up on our signals. I know my signals sometimes are subtle and people don't pick up on them. Whereas as a Pisces, I pick up on subtle things and have to realize not everybody does. So that's where your communication skills come in, right? So you can tell your new partner, please set me up for success so that I'm not just fumbling and just guessing and trying to figure out your body without an orientation. So it's really awesome to have that conversation of, hey, this is what turns me on. Like, hey, I like hair pulling, and, I'm a romantic, and touch is my number one love language. As a woman, we get turned on from the head down, and men, it's the other way around. So that's why there's probably, that's where that first base of kissing, second base, maybe necking, third base here, and on down. If you go out of that sequence, it'll throw off her body, even though she doesn't know why she feels discombobulated, because it opens up the gates as you go down the chakras. So if you're like, go straight for her breasts or her genitals or something, thinking that she's a guy like you, she's gonna be like, whoa. So you have to build trust with her body and with her before you go for the sexual parts of the body. And so this is what I teach in my sessions, and oftentimes men have to learn how to pace so that they're creating an environment of safety and asking, hey, is it okay if I, do this now? Or is it okay if I touch you here now? Because then it creates a container of safety, because safety is a huge thing for women that I don't think men grok that a lot of the times. Most women have been violated multiple times in their lives, if not, unfortunately, had more serious things happen to them. And a lot of times their boundaries have just been overrun or, not honored. So it's a beautiful thing to say, please set me up for success when it comes to our romantic encounter, and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and any information that might be helpful, because otherwise it's a big guessing game. And I remember one time I just really appreciated that when a guy said, well, what turns you on? Like, what are the certain things you like? And so he kind of knew all my buttons before we went in, and then he was able to incorporate them and it came out to a much more successful experience for me, especially because otherwise, if he's just doing his thing, I find that it doesn't go where I want it to go. He's just doing what he wants to do. So this is true for like relationship too. Like if you're starting a new relationship, say, please set me up for success with you in knowing what it is I need to know as we enter into this relationship. So what that could look like is if someone asked that to me, I might say something like, oh, you do need to know that I have a sensitivity toward indifference. So, one of my wounds is that my dad was very indifferent toward me, and he put all his energy into his son instead of me, and it was really hard for me. And so if I sense any kind of indifference or like about our relationship, or if I feel like he's feeling that way towards me, then I'm out of there, I noticed. So, it helps to know those triggers. If you're aware of your triggers, to share those vulnerably if it feels like it's time to do that, and open up and be transparent about, hey, I have a trigger when this happens. I notice it just, it brings up stuff for me, and I might not handle it as well as I'd like to. So that's helping someone set things up for success. Also noting, it's kind of like knowing someone's patterns in a way ahead of time, so that when it does show up, you're able to gracefully move through it together, instead of being like, whoa, who's this person? Like, like you just turned into somebody else or whatever, and having to learn the hard way, right? Okay, so that's something I highly recommend. I don't know why. Let's make it a new thing that, we communicate better in our relationships and set each other up in relationship and in sexuality by communicating what it is that we need. And using the 5 love languages is a beautiful way to do that, because we all have those 5 love languages in a different order. And it helps to know what people value. Like, oh, acts of service is way more important to me than getting gifts or something like that, And you can go online to 5lovelanguages.com, I think is what it is, and take the quiz and find that out. And that's a fun thing to do with your partner, so that, because if you're always doing acts of service when she maybe has touch as her number 1 love language, she's going to feel starved if you're not touching her and being affectionate and all that. Like, you can do as many acts of services as you want for her, and she'll appreciate it. But I notice as a touch person, if he's not touching me on a regular basis all the time, and is kind of just more hands off, I just end up feeling deprived and depleted and kind of starved out. It's really interesting. Okay, the second concept I'm going to share today is, actually, I think I'm going to make a new video, because I'm already, this is probably a long enough video as it is, so I'm going to do another video about pleasure, so stay tuned.